thought it was impossible to get out of the hospital, to be where I am today, but look where I am.
Imagine this. The lights dim, the audience goes silent, and the moment Angelica Hale opens her mouth, the entire room is frozen in awe. The judges can't believe what they're hearing, and you? You're about to witness a performance that will give you chills from start to finish. As a reporter covering the pulse of the global entertainment scene, today I bring you a story that has been stirring conversations across the world. The much-anticipated return of Angelica Hale to the big stage, with a performance so moving that it left the judges utterly speechless. In a moment fans have been waiting for, the atmosphere inside the studio was charged with an almost tangible sense of anticipation, as if every person in the audience was holding their breath, eager to witness what she would deliver. Angelica, who first stole the hearts of millions through America's Got Talent at an incredibly young age, now stood once again beneath the blinding spotlight that seemed to recognize her long and inspiring journey. With confident strides and a warm, assured smile, she opened her performance with a command of the stage that reflected not just musical maturity, but also the personal growth she has undergone over the years. From the very first note, the judges' eyes locked onto her, their expressions betraying the fact that they were already drawn in by the depth and richness of her voice, a voice that has matured yet retained the warmth that made her unforgettable in the first place. Angelica didn't simply sing, she breathed life into every lyric, delivering each word with emotion so raw and heartfelt that it resonated deeply with everyone present. Her mastery of vocal technique, paired with the sincerity in her delivery, created an emotional connection that transcended the music itself. When she reached the soaring climax of the song, the room erupted into thunderous applause and cheers, while the judges exchanged meaningful glances, some even leaning in to whisper to one another, acknowledging that they had just witnessed something extraordinary. This performance marked more than just the return of a remarkable talent. It was living proof that Angelica Hale has evolved into an artist who not only possesses innate talent but also the discipline, dedication, and adaptability needed to thrive in the fiercely competitive global music industry. Reporting on Angelica Hale's journey means tracing the arc of a story that has all the hallmarks of a modern fairy tale, yet is rooted in resilience, discipline, and a spirit that refuses to quit. Years ago, when she first appeared on America's Got Talent as a young girl with a voice far beyond her years, she instantly captured the nation's heart. But what many may not realize is that her story began long before the cameras started rolling. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, Angelica faced life-threatening health challenges at a tender age, including a severe illness that required a kidney transplant, an event that would shape not only her life but also her determination to live it fully. The recovery process was grueling, both physically and emotionally, yet even in the midst of pain, Angelica found comfort and purpose in music. Her family, recognizing her innate talent and unshakable spirit, encouraged her to pursue singing not just as a hobby, but as a calling. By the time she stood on the AGT stage for the first time, she was more than just another hopeful contestant. She was a survivor who had already beaten odds far steeper than those in any talent competition. Every performance she gave carried the weight of that personal history, imbuing her songs with authenticity that resonated with millions. As the competition progressed, she consistently delivered performances that blended technical mastery with emotional storytelling, qualities that made her stand out in a field crowded with talent. Even when she didn't take home the ultimate title, her impact on audiences was undeniable, setting the stage for a career that would continue to evolve and inspire long after the spotlight of AGT dimmed. Her latest return to the stage is not just a nostalgic callback to her early success. It's a declaration that Angelica is ready to claim her place among the top vocalists in the world, carrying forward the same grit and grace that have defined her since the beginning. From a news desk perspective, Angelica Hale's recent return to the spotlight was anything but a casual reappearance. It was a carefully anticipated moment in her evolving career that fans and industry insiders had been speculating about for weeks. In the days leading up to her latest performance, social media was abuzz with cryptic posts and behind-the-scenes glimpses that hinted at something special. Angelica's own Instagram feed was peppered with rehearsal snapshots, short vocal warm-up clips, and captions that danced around the details without ever giving the full story away. This intentional mystery building created a wave of excitement, amplified by fan communities who dissected every clue in forums, Twitter threads, and TikTok edits. Industry blogs began weighing in, with some predicting a major artistic pivot, perhaps a shift into a more mature repertoire, or even the debut of an original song. The anticipation wasn't just fueled by her loyal followers. Even casual observers of the music scene were intrigued by the idea of a young artist who had already carved a unique lane for herself returning with something bold enough to leave seasoned judges speechless. Publicity teams seemed to lean into this narrative, allowing speculation to flourish rather than diffusing it. This approach worked. By the night of her performance, the broadcast carried a palpable sense of event television. The audience in the venue wasn't just there for another set in a lineup. They were bracing for a defining moment in Angelica's career. The media presence was heavy, with entertainment reporters jostling for prime positions to capture both the pre-show tension and the post-performance reactions. All the signs pointed to this being more than just another stop in her career. It was staged and received as a milestone, the kind that artists look back on as a turning point years later. From the moment Angelica Hale stepped onto the stage, it was clear that this was not going to be an ordinary performance. It had the gravitas of a headline act at a major music awards night. Dressed in a gown that balanced youthful charm with a sophistication beyond her years, she stood at center stage as the lights dimmed and the first notes swelled from the orchestra. The room's energy shifted instantly. You could feel the collective hush of the crowd, as though everyone instinctively knew they were about to witness something extraordinary. Angelica's first line was delivered with a level of control and emotional depth that belied her age, her voice cutting through the stillness like crystal. From a reporter's standpoint, this was the moment that justified all the anticipation. She wasn't just delivering a song, she was telling a story, each lyric imbued with an authenticity that drew the audience in closer. The arrangement itself was a masterstroke, starting with delicate piano and strings before swelling into a powerful crescendo that showcased the full range of her vocal ability. Judges, seated just a few meters away, exchanged glances that spoke volumes, expressions that suggested they were not only impressed but perhaps witnessing the birth of a career-defining chapter. Midway through, the performance took an unexpected turn. A subtle modulation in the key lifted the song into a soaring finale that sent a ripple of goosebumps through the venue. By the time the last note hung in the air, the room erupted, not in the typical polite applause of a talent competition, but in a standing ovation so instantaneous it felt rehearsed. Cameras flashed, judges were visibly moved, and audience members could be seen wiping their eyes. In that single, breathtaking moment, Angelica Hale reaffirmed why she had captured the world's attention years ago and proved that her artistry had only deepened with time. From my vantage point covering the event, what happened immediately after Angelica's final note was nothing short of electrifying. The judges, known for their often guarded and measured responses, were visibly overwhelmed. One leaned back in his chair, hands clasped as though in prayer, while another placed a hand over her heart, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. When the applause finally softened enough for them to speak, the first judge described Angelica's voice as liquid gold, a phrase that would later dominate social media hashtags. Another remarked that this was a performance that would be talked about for decades, a statement rarely made on live television. But perhaps the most telling moment came when the typically stoic head judge broke into an uncharacteristic smile and gave a slow, deliberate standing ovation of his own, signaling a unanimous sense of awe. In the minutes that followed, clips of the performance began circulating online, propelled by audience members who had recorded the song from different angles. Within an hour, the hashtags #AngelicaHaleReturns and #SpeechlessJudges were trending in multiple countries. As a reporter, it was remarkable to witness how quickly a single performance could transcend the confines of a studio and ignite a global conversation. Comment sections filled with messages from longtime fans recalling her earlier journey, and new listeners who admitted they had never heard her before but were now hooked for life. Memes, reaction videos, and fan edits appeared within hours, creating a second wave of virality that amplified the initial buzz. By the end of the night, the official broadcast YouTube upload had racked up hundreds of thousands of views, with international entertainment outlets already reaching out for interviews. This was not just a strong performance, it was a cultural moment in real time, one that reaffirmed Angelica Hale's place not only in the competition but in the hearts of millions. From a reporter's standpoint, the story of Angelica Hale's latest performance didn't start when she stepped into the spotlight. It began hours earlier, behind the scenes, in the quiet, charged atmosphere of the backstage area. Sources close to the production told me that Angelica had arrived several hours before her slot, dressed casually, hair tied back, her demeanor calm but focused. While many performers retreated into their own mental space before showtime, Angelica maintained her trademark warmth, greeting crew members by name and even taking a moment to chat with younger contestants who were visibly nervous. Still, there were signs of anticipation bubbling beneath her composure. She was seen reviewing her lyrics on a small notepad, adjusting her breathing exercises and sipping warm tea prepared by her team. Those in the green room reported that she ran through parts of her song quietly under her breath, fine-tuning her vocal dynamics and emotional pacing. The producers, aware of her fan base's high expectations, had kept details of her song choice under tight wraps, fueling speculation online about whether she would revisit one of her earlier hits or surprise everyone with something entirely new. Camera operators were briefed to capture close-up shots of her expressions, anticipating moments that would resonate emotionally with viewers. Just before stepping out, Angelica reportedly closed her eyes for a brief moment, whispering a short prayer, something she's done since her earliest performances. That combination of meticulous preparation and quiet personal ritual seemed to pay off in full once the lights hit her, but seeing it unfold from behind the curtain offered a deeper layer of appreciation for what the audience witnessed on stage. This was not just raw talent. It was the result of years of discipline, self-awareness, and a finely honed ability to connect emotionally, even before the first note rang out. From my vantage point in the press section, the air inside the auditorium shifted the second Angelica Hale's name was announced. The buzz of anticipation that had been building all evening reached a palpable peak. Audience members leaned forward in their seats, phones discreetly lifted to capture the moment. The stage was bathed in a soft wash of blue and gold light, setting a warm, almost ethereal tone. Angelica appeared from stage left in a floor-length gown that managed to be both elegant and understated, shimmering just enough under the spotlights to complement, not compete with, her presence. There was a distinct hush, a collective pause as she approached the microphone stand. For seasoned reporters like myself, these opening moments are often telling. How a performer carries themselves before a note is sung can foreshadow the emotional arc of the entire performance. Angelica's posture was relaxed yet purposeful, a quiet confidence radiating from her eyes as she scanned the crowd briefly, acknowledging them with a soft smile. In that instant, she seemed to establish an unspoken contract with the audience. She would give them her all, and in return, they would give her their full attention. The orchestra behind her waited for her subtle nod before launching into the opening chords, a delicate piano motif that hinted at a slow build. From where I sat, I could see the panel of judges leaning in, perhaps already sensing they were about to witness something exceptional. The atmosphere was thick with a blend of curiosity, admiration, and that rare kind of reverence reserved for artists who have earned their place on the stage through sheer resilience and undeniable talent. As the opening piano phrase floated through the auditorium, Angelica took a slow, deliberate breath, her eyes briefly closing as if summoning the emotion needed for the performance. And then it came, the very first note, pure and unwavering, slicing through the air with a clarity that made every head in the room turn slightly, as though adjusting themselves to catch every nuance. There's something about an opening note that tells you everything about a singer's command over their craft, and in Angelica's case, it was immediate proof. Here was an artist who understood both the technical demands and the emotional responsibility of the song she was about to deliver. The soundboard engineer barely needed to adjust levels. Her projection was balanced, her tone centered, and the natural resonance of her voice seemed to embrace the entire space. From my position, I could see two of the judges exchange a brief glance, not of surprise but of acknowledgement, the silent nod of professionals recognizing exceptional skill. The audience, too, seemed momentarily suspended, caught between the desire to cheer and the need to remain silent so as not to disturb the magic in progress. The camera crew, who usually shift around noisily, became statues, their lenses locked on her every move. Even the orchestra members appeared to play with heightened sensitivity, responding to the texture of her voice as though she were the conductor. In that instant, it was no longer just a performance. It was a shared experience of discovery, of realizing that despite having heard Angelica Hale before, we were about to witness her reveal yet another, perhaps deeper, layer of her artistry. As the verses unfolded, Angelica's delivery carried a steady progression, each phrase building upon the last with subtle increases in volume, emotion, and dynamic shading. You could almost feel her drawing the audience closer with each line, not by overpowering them but by weaving a narrative in sound, every inflection deliberate, every breath timed with precision. The strings in the background swelled gently, and the lighting crew dimmed the stage just slightly, bathing her in a warm, golden hue that made her appear almost ethereal. By the time she reached the pre-chorus, her eyes opened wider, scanning the crowd, and her gestures became just a little larger, pulling us into the momentum she was creating. Then came the chorus, and with it, a release of power that felt almost cathartic. Her voice soared without losing its crystalline clarity, the kind of control that tells you she's not just hitting the note, she's shaping it, molding it to fit the emotional arc of the song. From where I stood, I could see audience members leaning forward instinctively, as if closing the physical distance would somehow help them absorb more of the performance. A young woman in the front row covered her mouth, clearly overwhelmed, while one of the judges, known for his stoic demeanor, allowed the corners of his mouth to lift ever so slightly. Angelica's expression in these moments told its own story. Her brow furrowed in concentration, lips curving around each syllable with care, eyes glistening under the spotlights. And as the final note of the chorus faded, replaced by a momentary hush, there was an unspoken agreement in the room that we were witnessing not just a performance, but a statement. A declaration that Angelica Hale was here not simply to compete, but to claim her space among the greats. As Angelica Hale approached the song's climax, the tension in the room was palpable, like holding one collective breath. Her voice climbed to the highest notes with effortless precision, sustaining them just long enough to create a sense of awe without tipping into excess. The final lyric was delivered with a delicate decrescendo, her tones softening into a near whisper before fading into complete silence. For a heartbeat, the room remained frozen. Even the judges seemed momentarily caught between the desire to applaud and the need to fully process what they had just witnessed. Then, as if on cue, the audience erupted into thunderous applause, cheers mingling with the sound of people rising to their feet. Several in the crowd had their phones held high, eager to capture the standing ovation that swept through the theater. One judge, typically critical to the point of severity, was seen mouthing the word "wow," while another leaned forward with a smile that could only be described as genuine admiration. Angelica, visibly moved, placed her hand over her heart, her eyes glistening, not with performance dramatics but with authentic emotion. She offered a small bow before stepping back, the spotlight still tracing her as the applause continued to roll over her like a warm tide. In that moment, it became clear this wasn't just another performance. It was a milestone in her journey, one that would likely be replayed, quoted, and referenced in the weeks to come. Backstage, murmurs of Grammy potential and career-defining could be heard among crew members and fellow performers, the kind of buzz that signals a shift in how an artist is perceived. For those in the audience, the night would be remembered as the evening Angelica Hale didn't just sing. She commanded the stage, silenced her critics, and left everyone from the front row to the furthest balcony, utterly speechless. If Angelica's voice gave you goosebumps, hit that like button right now. Share this video so more people can experience this magical moment. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more jaw-dropping performances and celebrity updates. Your support helps us bring you the best stories from the world of entertainment, so stay tuned.